So a lot of you have been curious about the head that I have on my floor tom here. For the benefit of those that don't know what it is a 16-inch EVANS EMAD head. It's exactly like the one they make for bass drum, but it's a 16-inch version that you can outfit on your floor tom. So it's the same thing, comes with the two rings, the thicker one, I got the thinner one on there. And I've had it for a couple of months. And for the record, I'd always planned to do a review on this head. But I was just trying to avoid, because when I first got it, I was pretty excited about it. I didn't want that to sort of overshadow, my thoughts on the thing, because at the time, I thought it was really cool. But just because of what it was, I wanted to play it for a while before I gave a proper review on it. So, a couple of months has passed. I still have it on there. I love it. Bottom line, it's very, very cool. The difference between having this on your floor tom versus a regular floor tom head is you can get away with some stuff with this that might be a little bit harder to do with a regular, single or double ply floor tom head. So I'm just going to show you a couple of things about this, and let you form your own opinions if you want to go pick one up, try one. But honestly, I think you'll dig it. I've had it for a couple of months. I'll give you the pros and cons, a couple of different uses, and then you can decide on your own whether or not you want one. So this head, I would say, is for drummers that are not really too concerned with sustain. Because as soon as you put that on there, you're gonna lose it. The sustain is fairly short on this thing. I would say actually really short, especially if you use the thicker ring on it. But the cool thing is, like, if you mic it, I haven't heard this thing live yet, like on an actual stage, mic'd up, but there's enough of the lower sustain, lower frequency sustains in this thing where it would probably sound amazing in an auditorium or in a theater stage or whatever. Like, I have a couple of friends of mine that swear by this thing and they're probably gonna stick with it. Me, I'm just gonna stay flexible with it. I'm gonna use it for certain situations. Others, not so much. One really cool thing about this particular head is you can mess with the tuning. Now, in the opening clip that you heard, I had it tuned pretty much right down to the wrinkles, so the lowest it could go. And incidentally, I want to mention this too. If you're familiar with my bass drum tuning video tutorial, you can actually tune this with the bass drum tuning method that I show in the video. Most of you guys are familiar with it. The whole maximum thumpification thing, and you tune it flat, turn it back, that whole thing, that works with this. You can treat this like you're tuning a bass drum, which I think is really cool. And you get a super low pitch that you might not necessarily be able to hear when you're hitting it. But like I said, if you have it on a stage and you got it mic'd up and you have those bass drum mics that can pick up those lower frequencies, this is probably gonna sound really wicked. I like it because I can sort of mess with different types of grooves and sort of treat this like a second bass drum, and then just come up with some cool hand and foot things like this. You can also, of course, tune it back up to range so that it fits with the rest of your toms, and it'll sit nicely in the range. It's just the sustain is just going to be really short. So as long as you don't care about that, this is probably a cool thing for you to try out. Now there's one con that I figured out by accident, but I'm glad I did so that I could warn you guys about it. But take a look at the head for a second. You see here on the plastic sleeve, I got some duct tape. I actually cracked it in those spots. I was probably just, doing some rim shot stuff or whatever, and I inadvertently cracked the sleeve in a couple of places. All you really have to do, I think, to avoid that, you might just have to tilt your floor tom towards you, maybe an inch or so, just so that you're not, it's easier to avoid cracking that plastic sleeve on there. The other thing too, if you're gonna get this, I would also try to avoid stacking toms on top of your floor tom. Sometimes when you're stacking your kit up, you have your 10 and your 12 sitting on top of your floor. Don't do that if you have this collar on there, because you're gonna snap it. Other than that, man, I suggest you check this out. It's a really cool option for sounds. If you have a home studio, or if you're going on a session and you think this might be something that will fit it. If you're in a hip hop kind of thing, you got a couple of different snares happening, you want a nice, different kind of sound coming out of your floor, the 16-inch EMAD is really cool. And then the last thing I'll mention about it is, if you're gonna order one, or if you're gonna pick one up, make sure that you get the right one, because there's two different versions of this. There's one that they make for floor tom, and there's also a 16-inch bass drum version. And the color is completely different. So if you accidentally pick up one for bass drum and try to fit it on your floor tom, it's not gonna fit. So just be specific on which one you want. It only comes in 16. And yeah, I think it's a really cool idea that they came up with. Check it out, try it out, mess with it, get creative, and have some fun with it.